Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
What's going on, Cavs fans? Welcome back to another edition of The Block, The Shot, The Stop. I'm Skylar Webker. He's Kevin Lynch. We cover the Cleveland Cavaliers. And tonight we thought we'd talk about how the Cavs can make the comeback against the Indiana Pacers. They've gone down the series 2-0. But after rewatching the last game, there's a lot of light at the end of this tunnel. There's a lot of bright spots that we want to highlight and kind of get us just amped up and ready for tomorrow's game, for game 3 against the Pacers in Cambridge Field. So, Kevin, let me know. What were some light spots that you want to shout out here?
Well, so first of all, you may remember this, guy. I know it's been a bit, but like when you have a 9-day-old baby, you don't sleep very much. So I started to rewatch at about like 1 a.m. Last night that I finished this morning. Kind of frantic, like a lot of Cavs fans, like what went wrong or what even happened, right? I mean, you knew they lost on a last-second shot, but how did all this go down? So I rewatched it, and I rewatched it through the lens of like what went right and what opportunities were there that, you know, the Cavs, you know, maybe took advantage of or could take advantage of more come next game. So it all starts with, to me, in my opinion, I think this series has been dictated by Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, in particular, the physicality they're playing defensively against Donovan Mitchell and Ty Jerome. It's really bothered Ty Jerome. Obviously, game 1, he had a very, we'll say, uneven performance, like put up decent numbers, but bad shooting. Game 2 is arguably his worst game of the year. For Donovan Mitchell, has played very well, but it has taken every single thing that Donovan Mitchell has in his tank to get through these, just playing 36 minutes last couple of games. Like I've heard people calling for increases minutes. Well, why you can't really increase his minutes is he's playing twice as hard in his minutes than a lot of other guys are in theirs, because they're just pressuring him nonstop, all over the court, being super physical with him, you know, getting away with maybe some fouls and stuff, but you get away with that stuff in the playoffs. So like the number one key for me is, how do you get Nembhard and Nesmith off of Donovan Mitchell so that he can put up 40 points again, but do it with a lot more ease, and more in particular, so that he can shoulder the burden that he has to right now with the playmaking, the playmaking to go along with the scoring, and not be completely out of gas the last couple minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think a big piece of this will be Darius Garland. It's from all the reports today, sounds like Darius Garland is like the most likely, if not all of them, will be back for game 3. But I think just sorely missing Darius Garland in this series. I mean, you look at, you mentioned how he's kind of pulling double duty in the scoring and the playmaking department. Sure. Well, let's take the playmaking off his plate. Let's move the ball around so that they're unable to switch Nembhard or Nesmith onto Mitchell. I think that alone, just not even Darius Garland's scoring abilities, which we all know is all-star caliber, the playmaking and being able to disrupt the defense is going to completely change how the Cavs approach the Pacers.
I agree. And a couple examples, like a couple things I noticed in game 2 and game 1, but like especially in game 2 that I had noticed all year. And it's like Isaiah Okoro was bringing the ball up pretty regularly, like in when he was in the game, bringing the ball up court. I never saw Okoro acting as a point guard the entire season. But the reason why is that's who Tyrese Halliburton was guarding. And Halliburton's the only guy on that team that won't press full court. And they didn't want Donovan Mitchell to be worn out just trying to bring the ball up the court every time against Nesmith and Nembhard. Another thing I noticed is, you know, a lot of people are saying, why is Ty Jerome still in the game? He's having maybe his worst game of the year, you know, and I get that argument, but it was very obvious why Ty Jerome was in the game, because they had no one else that could handle the ball besides Donovan Mitchell with Darius Garland out. And the way they're pressuring Darius Garland, as much as, just completely gassed Donovan Mitchell was, and he was cramping and all those things, you had to have someone in the game that could get the ball up the court and against pressure defense. And Ty Jerome's the only other real true point guard that can do that, that you feel pretty good about doing that with. I mean, they have a lot of capable guys on the team, but there's not a lot of guys who you feel good about like breaking a full court press as the point guard. And so those are examples of what I'm saying. Like the aggressive perimeter defense of Nesmith and Nembhard are controlling the series. And so the things I want to see, what kind of offense can Kenny Atkinson come up with? And we've lauded him all year for the adjustments he's made to the offense and everything, but like it's on him to figure out how to get Donovan Mitchell in advantageous matchups. Like how do you play Donovan Mitchell more off the ball or on the ball? Do you run like staggered screens at the top? What do you do so that he can go at Tyrese Halliburton, so that he can go at Miles Turner instead of Nesmith and Nembhard? And again, the overall scoring isn't a problem, but it's the amount of energy he exerts. I have a really crazy stat for you that I wanted to throw out to you and get your reaction. Then I'll turn it over to you. Is an example of how hard Donovan Mitchell was playing and the physicality he was putting up with last game. How many times do you think Donovan Mitchell landed on the floor in game 2?
A lot. He seeing how he got to the line 21 times or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and say closer to 40.
No, that's aggressive. By my count, it was about 26, 27 times. But in a normal NBA game, nobody hits the ground more than 5. So hitting the ground and getting up. Look, Donovan Mitchell is a world-class athlete, but like anyone listening to this podcast, go run at full speed, go down to the ground, and then get back up 27 times. And that's without getting, all the other things that are physically exerting around playing an NBA game. So I just thought, I thought that was a really good example of just how many times he hit the floor, and most of them were hard hits, him getting knocked down pretty aggressively. Nothing dirty. I don't want to say that, but just like he's just getting beat up, because when you're the only reliable, ball handler, playmaker on the team against a really good perimeter defenders and some interior defenders, once he breaks past them, you're going to get the Jordan treatment, and that's what he's getting.
Yeah, definitely getting the Jordan treatment. I think the other piece that will be nice is, and look, I don't want to be like, oh, we didn't win because we didn't have these guys. But they are difference makers when you do get them back. So getting Evan Mobley back, I think that helps with your comments about like bringing the ball up the court, because we've seen Evan Mobley this year be able to bring the ball up the court and break a full press defense. Same thing with Darius Garland, but also the ability to defend the 3-point shot as well as a kind of a guard. I think that's going to totally help with the just sheer first shooting percentages from the 3-point line from the Pacers that we're seeing. I mean, the first game was something ridiculous. I mean, look what that was, 52%, and game 2 was about 40%. So trying to disrupt the Indiana offense on the 3-point line, I think that's going to be huge in how you kind of shift the momentum back to you.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And like you said, a lot of it hinges on these 3 guys that miss game 2. Can they come back? And if they can come back, how effective can they be? I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be a real uphill climb if they can't get anything from Garland, Mobley, or Hunter in game 3. But even outside of that, and we will, obviously, those are big enough subjects that we'll touch on it more, but kind of going back to game 2 again, I got another question for you. I love posing questions for you. So I was looking at the Cavs' most productive lineups, like their 5 most productive lineups that they played. So these are all lineups that they played for at least 3-4 minutes and all had like positive plus minuses or pretty high plus minuses. So look at the 5. Of the 5, Donovan Mitchell's in all 5. No surprise there, right? There's 3 other guys that are in 4 of the 5. One's Max Strus. That's the one you would guess. And I guess I'll just tell you instead of posing this question. The other 2 are Sam Merrill and Dean Wade. I thought Dean Wade played a really good game. You wish he'd have made another shot or 2. He only took 4 and he made 1, but he was so good defensively, played so big for having to, play a lot of center whenever Jared Allen was in the game, rebounding the ball, being tough defensively, setting screens. I thought he was really good. And I actually really liked Sam Merrill's game. And I don't know why they went away from him quite as much, especially in the second half. So I think, again, this all hinges on who's available and everything. But if the minutes are available, I think Sam Merrill should get maybe look at getting him a few more. He got like 19 minutes overall. I guess it was about 9 to 10 minutes each half. So it was about the same. But, I just think, especially if guys are missing or guys come back, but they're compromised, you just need Sam Merrill shooting. And Sam Merrill holds up well enough defensively that I just think he has to be a pretty core part of the rotation at this point.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of follows up with my question to you is, the Cavs have been a 3-point shooting machine through the entire regular season, taking 40, 50 a game. So far this series, they've taken 38 and 39. So the 3-point just attempts are down. Never mind the percentages, which are also down, but the attempts are down. So, would you like to see more 3-point shooting and kind of piggybacking off of your point to giving more minutes to Sam Merrill, who's kind of our 3-point specialist?
Yeah, no, great question. So I actually think all of the links in this, all these are links in a chain, right? Because part of the reason they're not getting quite as many threes or as high quality threes and hitting as many threes is in the regular season, you had 2 all-star guards plus the arguably a 6th man of the year breaking down defenses and starting the possession that way, break down the defense, do a pick and roll, kick it, hit to the roll man's, like skip to the opposite side. Yeah. All those things. And it ends up with, one of your half dozen very good 3-point shooters getting a wide open 3. When you don't have that penetration because you don't have some of your main creators available or playing well, or they have extremely tough matchups, then the offense doesn't kick into gear, and you don't get the opportunity to swing the ball and get as many open looks. So for me, to get more quality 3-point shots, it starts with the play creation and scheming up better matchups for, in particular, Mitchell, but also Jerome. Like, part of the reason Jerome struggles is because he's been going against Nembhard, and he's been going against the other guy of Nembhard and Neesmith, and he has struggled against them. If you can get him on Tyrese Halliburton or Ben Mathurin when he's in the game, or get him switched on to big guys, he can start cooking again, right? And get this off and get that penetration that gets the ball moving and ends up with, open shots for whoever. So I think it's all linked. I think they desperately need to get the 3-point shot going. Like you said, get to about their normal average, both attempts and making. But I think it starts with creating those matchups that are much better for the Cavs than kind of playing the matchups as the Pacers have been dictating.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we're not using this as an excuse for the situation that we're in, but getting the guys back, I think, take the Cavs' normal starting 5. I think you like everybody on that starting 5 as a matchup to Tyrese Halliburton. It's going to be a lot harder for Indiana to hide Halliburton in the defensive side of the ball. If you have Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, Allen, who all can take advantage of him, and then flipping it onto the second unit. I mean, I think you like Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter, and Isaac Okoro as a matchup to Ben Mathurin when he's out there. So I think getting these guys back and getting your normal Cavs rotation Cavs basketball is going to make it much more difficult for Indiana to not play defense.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, it's a math problem, right? So, of all the guys the Pacers played double-digit minutes in games 1 and 2, in my opinion, and frankly by defensive statistics, they have 3 very good defensive players. It's Miles Turner, Nesmith, Nembhard, who we've mentioned. So, what is the best way to attack the Pacers, or the easiest way is to go at the other defenders, right? And you do that by either getting one of your best guys that like say Donovan Mitchell that they want to guard with Nesmith or Nembhard, get him onto somebody else, right? The other way, and kind of what you're saying, is if they have 3 good defenders, can you get 4 good offensive players on the floor at the same time?
Yeah.
And then those 3 can't guard all of your good offensive players. And in game 2, frankly, just wasn't an option for the Cavs because they didn't have guys that could, a lot of the guys, 2 of the guys that depend on to create offense the most, in Mobley and Garland, were unavailable. And so if you get them back and you can put kind of some of your normal guys on the floor, I would even look, if they get Mobley and Garland back, what I would love to see is those 2 on the floor with Mitchell and Ty Jerome, and then the 5th guy would be Max Strus, DeAndre Hunter, somebody. But the whole point is you get Mobley on the floor as your mobile big guy, and then you get your 3 creators all on the floor at the same time. There's nowhere for Tyrese Halliburton to hide, right? In that instance. And so one of those guys get match up against him, and every time they get match up with him, give him the Tyler Hero treatment from game 1.
That's exactly what I was going to say, the Tyler Hero treatment.
Yes. So yeah, that's you're right. The Cavs, the best thing to do would be to get all your guys back and have them be able to be effective. I completely agree with that. If that can't happen, or to an extent, even if it does happen, the Cavs have to do a better job at scheming up offense where they're dictating the terms instead of the Pacers defense dictating them to them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was very apparent in kind of the final 2 minutes of last game, where they barely took any shots. I don't think they took a single shot in the last
50
minute
seconds
of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, where they let Indiana's defense dictate the Cavs offense, which we've never seen before in the regular season. So I would be hard pressed to not be rooting for the Cavs, and expecting the Cavs to win. They haven't lost 4 games in a row all year.
Yeah. And one thing for the Cavs, if the Cavs can do some of this work that we're talking about, you can get the numbers to come back to the mean, right? Because the Pacers were a fringe top 10 3-point shooting team. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. And that's something we haven't talked about on that end of the floor. How can they defend better? Like, Pacers by percentage have the best percentage in the playoff. I believe they've shot above 50% from 3 above 40% from 3 both games. Actually 39.3 and then over 40 in game 1. So if you're not going to shoot the 3 well, one, you want to improve that. The other thing is you got to keep the other team from doing it, because it's one of the most nowadays in the NBA. It's one of the first stats you could look at without even knowing the final score. If you see one team made 10 more threes than the other team, there's a high probability they won.
Yeah, to their credit, they're not a high volume 3-point shooting team. They are definitely a quality 3-point shooting team. The first game they only took 36 shots, which lined up with the Cavs 38. And then the second game they only took 23 3 attempts, which is low in today's standards.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and when you look at the numbers from game 2, if you look at the numbers through the first 3 quarters, the Cavs we're dominated and we're dominating. I think the other thing, like, and we have to kind of call a spade here. The Cavs need to execute better at the highest intensity times. They had some struggles with that in game one when game one was competitive. And obviously everybody remembers last like 40, 50 seconds of the game, but frankly, they had an extremely hard time executing the entire fourth quarter, and they only got like 18 shot attempts. I mean, the majority of their offense in the fourth quarter was Donovan Mitchell at the free throw line. So, when the game gets tighter and everything, they need to execute better, figure out ways to do it. The one other thing, and because we've talked about, these key players, I know a lot of people are thinking like, you're talking about like these other two guys when Tyrese Halliburton is the guy who was on the Olympic team and this guy's going to make all NBA and everything. And Tyrese Halliburton is a very good offensive player, but I think the two-way ability of Nembhard and Nesmith and their physicality is really what has dictated the first two games of the series. And the other thing is like, if you can't get those guys off of Mitchell or off of Jerome or something, can you attack them to get them in foul trouble? Something like that. I know it's harder to get people in foul trouble in the playoffs when the refs are allowing more and everything, but you have to figure out a way when it's the whole definition of insanity, right? You doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. Asking Donovan Mitchell to attack those two guys every single time down the court and be able to do it for 48 minutes is not a realistic or sustainable ask. So you have to come up with other ways to do it. And there's opportunities. That's the thing. There are opportunities around this game against the Pacers team, even if the Cavs are shorthanded, especially if they're not. So I think, honestly, I put game 3 a lot on the coach of the year in Kenny Atkinson, because I really think if he can make the next 2 or 3 successful chess moves against Indiana, particularly to get the Cavs offense going, then I think that would be the key to them winning game 3. And you win game 3, you're back in the series. It's a series again. You lose game 3. I mean, being honest, it's almost impossible task from there, but you just need to go in, get game 3, use whatever strategies you have in the tank to get game 3. And then you're back in the series, and hopefully you have guys back by then or coming back or getting healthier, and you make a real run at this thing.
Yeah, I think the other piece you mentioned, like attacking these guys and maybe getting them into foul trouble. I think another piece that we saw in this last game was that these guys, I don't want to use the term soft, but these guys are very short-wicked when it comes to, or the Pacers are very short-wicked when it comes to the officiating. You saw guys kind of really jawing and barking at officials, and that's something. And to the point where I was like, all right, when are these technicals coming? Because they were jawing pretty hard. So I think these guys are very, like I said, short-wicked when it comes to that. So if you get them into foul trouble and then you start playing the mental game, like they're getting all fired up, they're getting all pissed off at the officiating, and you just keep exploiting, keep doing it. I think that they call that torture. So
it's a great point. And the one thing I'd add is if that's happening and the officials won't do it, then the Cavs have to do it. The Cavs, there's times in a professional sports game, you can't always be the nice guy. This is one of the nicest professional sports teams you'll ever see. I would let every single one of these guys, hang out with my sister. But but at some point, you gotta, if they're knocking you down, you gotta knock them down. If they're talking shit to you, you gotta talk shit to them. You gotta, take a little bit of it into your own hands and be willing to not be the nice guy and be willing to be more physical. And I'm open to the fact I'm not calling for hard fouls and goons and everything, but if you need to get Tristan Thompson in the game to give a hard foul or two for a couple minutes, do it. If you need to get Jalen Tyson in the game for the sheer fact that he's next to Donovan Mitchell, probably the most athletic guy on the Cavs, just to match up with their athleticism and physicality for a couple minutes. Do it, but you can't let the other team dictate the terms of the game, especially when these teams are they like to play two different ways, and the Cavs, for the most part, have had to kind of deal with playing the Pacers the way the Pacers want to play.
Yeah, that's the truth. You hit the nail on the head. Is like let's get pissed off a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. The last thing for you, Skylar, I pulled this down.
Hey.
Before you gotta believe that you're not gonna come back from you're not gonna win 4 games in 5 days like this if you don't believe you can do it. And I'll call out all the fans. You fans got to believe you can do it too. So I'm going to choose.
We'll light the holy candle tomorrow.
There you go. And I think, I honestly think the first 6 minutes of Game 3 is going to give you a real idea of how this series is going to go. If the Pacers come out and have a double-digit lead in the first quarter, I worry that this series is just going to completely get away from the Cavs. If the Cavs come out and they're wanting to fight and push, and it's a back and forth game, or the Cavs can jump on them early, I think that is an incredible sign. I mean, we know obviously Game 2 they jumped on them early and they couldn't sustain, but if they can jump on them early and then learn from their mistakes in Game 2 and execute better, or have all their personnel available, it could be a different story. And I'm telling you, if they get Game 3 and they're getting these other guys healthy, I am a pessimist. I know you believe, but I'm a pessimist by nature. I truly think this series is not over. And if the Cavs can, like I said, you have to, I know you already did in Game 2, you have to find a way to empty the tank in Game 3 and get that game. And then the absolute worst thing that happens is you end up being down 3-1 and you got to win 3 in a row with 2 of them at home. That's not impossible. So like I said, get Game 3, figure out a way, take the game to the Pacers instead of letting the Pacers take the game to them, and then get back Sunday and see if you can even the series. But I truly believe that they have a very, very good chance still to get back in this series and not let it kind of go the way it's going right now.
I'm still in camp. Cavs and 6, baby.
Your optimism never wavers. I love it. So I could use some more of it. But yeah, man, we just wanted to come on, especially because we kind of rewatched the game and we saw these things and we were texting each other about it, and like let's jump on the mics and talk a little bit about like some optimism, and not fruitless optimism, but some opportunity that the Cavs have and why we really think there is. And I'm telling you, watch the game, the beginning of the game, and throughout the game tomorrow night. If the Cavs can start getting better matchups for them offensively, particularly for Mitchell, if they can get some of their guys back and just run better offense, get more open threes, I think, even without looking at the scoreboard, if you're watching the game and the scoreboard's not even on the screen, I think if I watch the game for 10 minutes, I could say like the Cavs are playing, they're playing really well, and this is like Cavs basketball versus Cavs having to play Pacers basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree, and hopefully we get to see Tristan Thompson barking at Tyrese Halliburton's dad.
Right now I want to win a game first, then we can bark at John Halliburton. let's no distractions, go get Game 3, and this team has given us a reason to believe in them all year, in all seriousness. I mean,
yeah,
be honest, they've lost 3 games in a row once the entire season. Why would we think that they're going to lose a 3rd game in a row tomorrow night? Like, this team, I wanted to go back and look and see how many times they'd won 4 games in 5 days this season. I didn't, but because it had been a lot of work. But I mean, it's 12, 15, 20 times, something like that. They had win streaks of 12, 15, and 6. Winning 4 games in 5 days is nothing that's like undoable for them. They just need to, like I said, play better basketball, dictate the terms of the game, and most importantly, give Donovan Mitchell some help. He's been doing so much. Give him some help. Not only like other people scoring points and everything, but get him some help by getting him open, getting him more open. Get him in a better position that he doesn't have to, take on 3 guys and go to the basket and then get, jump till he's 11 feet in the air and then get knocked on his rear end and get up and make 2 free throws to get his points. Like, give him some help. Like, I think I really started getting inspired when I heard today they just did a shoot around, no practice. The 3 guys that were out all like at least did some light work and participated. And then the gym cleared out and everyone was getting ready to meet up to go to Indy, and Donovan Mitchell's behind doing work by himself. If there's one thing that hasn't been a problem in this series, it's been Donovan Mitchell, and he's there putting in work. And I think he's going to refuse to lose tomorrow night, even if no matter who's on the court. I think he has it in him to give another effort like he did on Tuesday night. And if he can do that, give that effort again, and the Cavs can play a little bit better collectively, they'll win.
Yeah, and I think my parting thought on this is we've seen all year, we've talked about it all year, how the Cavs can beat you in 1,000 different ways. They're not a one-trick pony, only reliant on one thing. And we still fully believe that. And, it's even more apparent as you see Boston and New York right now. Boston's 3-point game goes away, and they look terrible. I mean, they're down 2-0. So, I think the Cavs have much more tricks up their sleeves. They're not a one-trick pony, and they can beat you a myriad of different ways. And they're gonna prove that again in Game 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Let's just get Game 3. I'm not even thinking about 4 or 5. 4 and 5 are kind of fruitless if you don't get Game 3, in my opinion. So let's just go get Game 3 and then start worrying about the rest on Saturday morning.
Absolutely. So with that, we're going to get out of here. For Kevin Lynch, Tim Daniel, myself, we're going to get out of here. We're going to be back on tomorrow after Game 3. And Kevin, as always,
go Cavs.